I saw the text before I felt anything. Is this really you? Please call us. It's urgent. Mom. For a second, I thought it was a joke. My mother, who signed a document saying I was dead, who told anyone who asked that I passed suddenly, was texting me like we had simply drifted apart. 12 years of silence. 12 years of being erased. And now she wanted a phone call. My name is Sandra Perez, and this is the story of how my parents buried me alive on paper, and how I rose high enough that they couldn't ignore the truth anymore. I was 18 when they lost me. I'd left home after another fight with my father. Nothing physical, just the kind of cold, sharp disappointment that cuts deeper than any bruise. He stood in the doorway of our little house in Flagstaff, Arizona, and said, "If you walk out, Sandra, don't you dare come crawling back." I remember my mother standing behind him, arms crossed, expression already rehearsed. I thought it was normal teenage drama. I thought we'd fix it. I never imagined they'd choose something far worse. A week later, I tried calling home. No answer. 2 weeks later, my aunt messaged me, "Are you okay? Your parents said you passed?" I thought she meant passed out or passed through town. But then she sent a photo of my own parents at a church service, holding a framed picture of me. I could still hear the church bells ringing when the truth hit me. My parents were telling people I was dead. If this hits home already, tell me where you're watching from. Growing up, my parents were strict in the way that looks responsible from the outside but feels suffocating from the inside. Every choice was checked by them. Every dream had to fit inside a box no bigger than their living room. My father believed girls should stay close to home. My mother believed reputation mattered more than reality. I wanted college. They wanted obedience. Our fight started when my acceptance letter arrived, Arizona State University, full of possibilities I had been quietly working for since middle school. My father read it once, placed it on the table, and said, "We can't afford this. And even if we could, you aren't ready." My mother said nothing. Worse than silence, she gave me that tight smile she used when she'd already agreed with him days earlier. But here's what stung. They could afford it. They just didn't want to let me go. When I left home in anger, I left without knowing the lengths they'd go to keep people from asking where I went. They didn't just say I ran away. They didn't just say we were estranged. They declared me dead. On paper. In reputation. In excuses whispered at church. All because the truth would embarrass them. And somewhere deep inside, I think they liked the finality of it. A dead daughter can't contradict you. I didn't learn about the paperwork until a year later. I was applying for student aid at a community college in Phoenix. The woman at the counter frowned at her screen and said, "Honey, this says you're deceased." My throat closed. My hands went numb. I leaned over the counter thinking I misheard. She lowered her voice. "You'll need to clear this up with whoever filed it." Filed it. Somewhere, in some office, my parents had put their signatures beneath words declaring their own child dead. "And do you have a legal guardian we can contact?" I walked out without answering. Outside, the desert sun didn't feel warm. It felt harsh, exposing. Like I'd been erased and the world agreed to it. That night, I lay awake on the floor of the tiny room I was renting. No bed yet. No furniture. Just a girl who technically didn't exist. By sunrise, something shifted inside me. If my parents wanted me dead on paper, fine. I would build a life so massive that they'd hear my footsteps shaking the ground from miles away. And then, when they least expected it, I'd make them face the truth they buried. My 20s weren't glamorous. They were long shifts, cheap ramen, walking 3 miles to work because my car broke down again. But every hardship felt cleaner than the life I left behind. Being declared dead meant I couldn't use my old records. I had to rebuild everything: identity, credit, documentation, slowly and legally, with the help of state offices who eventually believed me. I worked days at a call center, nights at a diner. They called me ambitious. The truth? I was angry. Anger is a fuel if you burn it right. At 23, I got my first real break, an internship at a tech startup in Dallas. At 26, I became operations lead. At 28, a competing company recruited me as a director. And at 30, I co-founded my own logistics software firm. Nothing about my rise was accidental. When you grow up erased, you learn to carve your name into stone. By the time I turned 31, my company was listed on the Fortune 500, one of the youngest ever entries. People congratulated me. Investors praised me. Interviewers asked about my remarkable background. But no one knew the real reason I fought so hard. Until the text came. And that's where things start to unravel. If you've ever climbed your way out of someone else's shadow, tap like so this story reaches someone who needs it. When my mother's text popped up, I stared at it so long the screen dimmed. Is this really you? As if I were the one who disappeared. As if I owed her an explanation. I didn't reply. 2 hours later, another message pinged. We need to talk. Things are complicated. Complicated. The word made me laugh for the first time that day, a short, humorless sound. Then came the kicker. Your father is very sick. We didn't know how else to reach you. There it was. The real reason the dead daughter suddenly mattered. I locked my phone and set it face down on my desk. I hadn't heard their voices in 12 years. I didn't know if I wanted to. But something haunted me. Not guilt. Not love. Something colder. Curiosity. What had pushed them to resurrect me? The next day, my assistant forwarded a message from a journalist requesting a comment. Apparently, someone had approached him claiming to be my mother, saying she wanted to share Sandra's remarkable survival story. I remember whispering to myself. So this is what I am to them now, a headline. At that moment, all the old humiliation resurfaced, being erased, ignored, abandoned. If you've ever felt this kind of betrayal, comment below. I finally caved and texted back. I didn't say hello. I didn't ask about my father. I typed. You told people I died. 5 dots bubbled on the screen. Then disappeared. Then came back. Her response was short. Almost breezy. We didn't know what else to do. You were gone. Gone. Not moved out. Not living independently. Just gone. I called her. I don't know why. Curiosity, anger, closure, maybe all of them twisted together. She picked up on the first ring, breath shaky like she'd been waiting by the phone. Sandra? Honey? Is it really? Don't call me honey. Silence. Then she tried again, softer. We only did what we had to. People asked questions. Your father had to explain. So you explained that I was dead? A long, trembling breath. It was easier. That line. It was easier. That was my private humiliation, worse than anything they told the church or the office or their friends. My existence was inconvenient. My erasure was convenient. That was the moment I felt the shift inside me. The turning point I didn't know I was waiting for. In every story, there's a moment when the main character realizes they've been begging the wrong people for the wrong things. For me, it was right then. I stopped trying to understand them. Stopped trying to make them see the damage they caused. Stopped asking questions that only reopened old wounds. Instead, I asked one thing. Why are you contacting me now? She hesitated. Then said the line that lit the fuse under everything that followed. Your father's insurance claim was denied because they couldn't verify your death anymore. I felt the room tilt. They didn't reach out because of love. Or guilt. Or regret. They reached out because the lie that erased me was finally haunting them. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I didn't even breathe for a moment. Then I spoke with a calmness that surprised me. Send me every document you filed about my death. Why? Because you wanted me gone, I said. Now I want to understand how far you went. Planning started right there, quiet, cold, methodical. If you've ever had that moment when something inside you clicks and you know you'll never beg again, subscribe for more stories like this one. My revenge wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was administrative, precise, and fully within the law. First, I contacted an attorney I trusted, Evelyn, a woman who knew how to navigate murky identity cases. When I told her my story, she didn't look shocked. Instead, she took notes and said, Sandra, they fabricated documents. Anything filed with your name must be corrected. And anyone who used these false statements to obtain benefits may face consequences. I didn't want to put my parents in legal danger. That wasn't the goal. I wanted the truth recorded. I wanted the lie exposed. I wanted the world they built on my absence to collapse under its own dishonesty. So with Evelyn's guidance, we filed corrections with state offices, updated federal agencies, and sent notices to insurers that the deceased daughter was not deceased at all. The moment those notices were processed, everything my parents built on the lie began to unravel. Church friends asked questions. Coworkers whispered. Extended relatives reached out in shock. My parents had to admit, publicly, that they lied. But that was only the first wave. When I finally agreed to meet them, it was at a quiet cafe in Flagstaff. Neutral ground. I arrived early and sat facing the door. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. My parents walked in together. My father looked thinner. My mother looked older. They froze when they saw me, alive, successful, nothing like the daughter they'd erased. My mother whispered, "You look, well." "I am," I replied. My father didn't speak. He sat across from me, eyes darting around like he expected someone to be watching. The silence stretched until I broke it. "You didn't contact me because you missed me. You contacted me because your lie fell apart." My mother tried to deny it, but her voice wavered. My father finally spoke. "We made a mistake." "No," I said softly. "A mistake is misplacing your keys. You didn't misplace a daughter. You disposed of one." He flinched. "Good." My mother reached for my hand. I pulled it back. "I didn't come for comfort. I came for accountability. I'm not here to forgive you," I said. "I'm here to close this chapter." My name is being restored in every system you manipulated. And your community already knows the truth. My father's jaw clenched. Do you want to ruin us? I leaned forward. No. You ruined yourselves. I just stopped letting you use my silence to hide it. He looked away first. That was all the closure I needed. I didn't plan the public moment. It unfolded on its own. 2 months after the cafe meeting, a local reporter published a story about false death declarations, an investigative piece. I hadn't spoken to him. But several people from my parents' circle had. His article exposed a pattern of families misusing documentation for personal benefit. One example was anonymous. But everyone in Flagstaff recognized the story. My parents' names weren't printed, but the community connected the dots. My mother tried to spin it. My father tried to blame bureaucratic confusion. But truth has a way of climbing out of shallow graves. One Sunday, as they walked into church, a woman asked loudly, "Is Sandra really alive, or did you make that up too?" My parents reportedly left early, stared at the ground the entire time. I didn't celebrate. But I did feel something release inside me, a pressure, a weight I'd been carrying since I was 18. If you're still with me, tap like, because this was the moment everything changed. I didn't cut them off entirely. But I didn't let them back in either. They sent letters. I didn't respond. They asked for forgiveness. I wasn't ready. My father's illness stabilized, though my mother hinted at wanting financial help. I declined, politely but firmly. You buried me once, I wrote back. I won't fund a resurrection. What surprised me most was how many people reached out afterward, old classmates, relatives, even strangers, saying they admired how I handled it. But here's the truth. It didn't feel like triumph. It felt like closure that came with a scar. I'd built an empire trying to outrun a lie. And once the lie crumbled, I finally felt free to stand still. Last week, I donated to a scholarship fund for students estranged from their families. I signed the donation anonymously. It felt right. I don't need recognition. I don't need applause. And I definitely don't need validation from the people who declared me dead. What I needed, what I finally have, is my name back. My identity. My voice. When people ask about my parents now, I simply say, we don't speak. But I wish them peace. Not reconciliation. Not revenge. Just peace. That's the real victory. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. You can rise from something even if the people who raised you try to bury you. Your identity is yours. Your worth is yours. Your future is yours. And sometimes, justice isn't about punishing the ones who hurt you. It's about building a life so strong that their choices can't touch you anymore. If this story moved you, subscribe for more stories like this one, and tell me in the comments if you've ever had to rebuild yourself from someone else's betrayal.